Partner co-host Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Blake. It's been an interesting week. Fired up for the Super Bowl coming up. It doesn't feel like the Super Bowl is this Sunday. I don't know why.
The only thing that I saw about the Super Bowl today was that Homeland Security arrested people for fake merch. Did you see this?
I didn't. That sounds like the most San Francisco thing possible. That could be.
Yeah,
fake merch.
2,276 items were confiscated by Homeland Security. Shout out to the boys out there in San Francisco. Just going to give them a little slight plug here. With that being said, yes, that's the only thing I've seen about the Super Bowl. And Mike Vrabel saying that he cut his wiener in half to win a Super Bowl and he'd still have 6 inches. That was the only other thing that I've seen.
I missed that. I know that he's made those ridiculous statements before. Yeah, I don't know why, though. Just normally I feel like there's a lot of buzz and fanfare coming out of the Super Bowl every single week during Radio Row. For some reason, it's not as aggressive. Maybe it's because I'm not a producer.
Well, you're not there. You're not there.
Yeah.
Sean,
well,
Sean.
I wasn't there last year, and I was still working at Yahoo at the time, so I still do work around Radio Row. I think that's probably why, though. I'm just not as NFL focused, so it doesn't mean as much to me.
Let me ask you a question. I guess we're technically going on Sunday before the Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter. Who are you taking?
I took the Seahawks -4.5 on FanDuel. I have a lot of concerns with the Patriots offensive line. I think that they are not going to be able to slow down that Seahawks pass rush. I think that is going to be the defining factor.
I said this last week. Before we get rolling, I would love your opinion. Sam Darnold is the poster child for why you never give up on talented players.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that it's a narrative that a lot more people need to talk about because you're so quick to bail on these guys that are young that come into the league. And the same thing applies for freshmen. There's plenty of freshmen around the country that do poorly, sophomores that do poorly, and we just assume that they're cooked and they're bums and they're not going to figure their stuff out. Sam Darnold is the best example of what patience means for a player's development.
And maybe not going to the Jets. That'd be probably the
that too. Good on Dante Moore. Good on Dante Moore, man.
Yeah, no one wants to go to the New York Football Giants. Those goddamn Jets, as they said on that movie Big Daddy one time. Got a lot to get into. Top 5 running backs. Joe and I break those down. We give you our top 5 rankings going into next season. The college football calendar. What a joke. We'll get into that as well. Joey Aguilar getting a TRO from a judge in the state of Tennessee. We'll talk about that and the eligibility. Charlie Baker makes a statement in reference to the eligibility, which was also false, by the way, that we need to – I'm going to leave that alone. But we'll talk about the eligibility as a whole. Does that need to just come to a halt? Why these judges are making college football much more difficult in this situation? And if we have time at the end, Joe Lincoln Riley, of all coaches in the Big Ten, who has no real reason to take jabs at the SEC, takes a jab at the SEC. So we'll get to that if we have time here tonight as well. Do us a favor, subscribe down below if you're on YouTube. We greatly appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button for us. Please do so. If you're on Facebook, hit the like and share. Share to all those groups as well. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate you doing that. Every Ruffino and Joe show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device when you do so. If you want to place bets on the Super Bowl, future college football picks. I got to see Lane Kiffin today. Wonder what he would have thought if I would have said, hey, FanDuel has Sam Levitt plus 1,300 odds to win the Heisman. Wonder what he would have said to that if I actually would have said it. But regardless of that, you can place all of those odds and bets with our good friends and partners over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. Joe, we also have a new sponsor with us here tonight, and our good friends over at Crypto.com has us covered.
Yes, if you're looking for a way to tap into the prediction markets, Crypto.com has a brand new product out there, and we want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, OG. If you're locked into everything happening across college football, breaking down matchups, late game decisions, and debating how things are really going to play out, OG is built for you. OG is a prediction market experience where instead of traditional sports betting, you trade real world outcomes. On OG, you're trading simple yes or no outcome contracts. So when we're sitting here talking through a college football matchup and asking questions like, does this one go the way the market expects? That's exactly the kind of real world outcome you can trade on OG. And you can do that for the Super Bowl as well. They've got tons of situations and markets out there for the Super Bowl. Prices move in real time based on market demand, which basically reflects how confident the market is in that outcome. OG prediction markets are derivative products offered by Crypto.com. Derivatives of North America, a commodity futures trading commission regulated exchange, available to eligible users. Some state restrictions apply. Terms and conditions apply. Right now, OG is running the big game bonus. If you sign up and start trading predictions during the campaign window, you can earn bonuses based on your total trading activity with the chance to earn up to $500 in bonuses. OG isn't just sports either. You can trade markets across politics, economics, and more. Check the leaderboards and jump into the live chat and with other users. If you want to check it out, head to OG.com or scan the QR code that is on the screen right now. Terms and conditions apply.
Brought to you by our good friends over at Crypto.com, and we're greatly appreciative of our good friends over at Crypto.com. Joe, let's move right into it as we continue on our path, our way too early standings here. When we go on, we wait the quarterback on Monday. But what are you and who are your top 5 running backs coming into the 2026 season?
At number 1, I'm going with Kewan Lacy from Ole Miss. Number 2, Ahmad Hardy from Missouri. Number 3, Mark Fletcher from Miami. I felt like I should have put him higher. I feel like a little
higher than who?
I know that was hard. It was really hard to narrow it down. We'll get to that in a little bit. Number 4, LG Martin from BYU, and at number 5, Jadan Baugh from Florida.
Ooh, wrong order. At number 1, I have Jadan Baugh here. Number 2, Ahmad Hardy. Number 3, Kewan Lacy. Number 4, Mark Fletcher. And number 5, LT Martin out of BYU. I got to start off with you here first, Joe. Jadan Baugh is way too low. Look, I get Kewan Lacy. I get Ahmad Hardy. I get Mark Fletcher. I get LJ Martin. I get all of that. I feel like that Jadan Baugh is bigger, faster, and stronger than majority of all those guys on that list. And I love Mark Fletcher, a part of that list too. We have all of the same 5 running backs. I am not going to allow Billy Napier's incompetence bring him down for what people think that he is. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to do it. He had 4 touchdowns this season that got called back because of stupid procedural penalties, most of them being either guys being lined up in the backfield. He had a touchdown taken off the board against South Florida. Actually, 2 touchdowns taken off the board against South Florida. He had a touchdown taken back against Miami. He had a touchdown taken back against LSU. By the way, that's in the first 4 weeks of the season. The first 4 weeks. I think that he can do everything better than everybody else. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's made guys in space that are safeties and corners look silly by juking them. Whoop! Like his name's Boomer. Okay? He's got one of the most deadliest stiff arms in the game. And he wears no gloves. A running back that wears no gloves has to be on the number 1 of this ranking.
Wait, that's not true. He wears gloves. He doesn't
there
always
are
not
big
wear
games
gloves.
where he does not wear gloves.
Was it raining?
I know he didn't wear gloves against LSU. That's all I know. And that's all I care about. That is all that I care about. Joe, he is bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody. And I'm telling you, mark my words right now. If he is put in a better system, he is the best back in the country. Now, here's something else. I feel like at running back more than any position in the country is you're kind of like fighting for semantics here. Boy, is this running back room really loaded in 2026.
I know. By the way, that's like the biggest thing with this is it's nuts, the names that are on here and in striking distance. And I know that Elks was joking when he brought up Bo Jackson. Well, Bo Jackson is somebody that's hovering that it could end up being top 5. Isaac Brown is somebody who's hovering, who's a really good player. What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. There's a lot of really good options. I'm also kind of find it funny that we ended up with the same 5 guys. That usually doesn't happen when we do these lists, when we don't communicate ahead of time until we step in here for our pre-show discussion. Here's the thing with Jadan Baugh. I will relent that maybe Baugh could go ahead of LJ Martin, but and maybe Ahmad Hardy. And this was why I had a little bit of pause with where I had Ahmad Hardy, but I don't feel bad about putting him at number 2. 2 guys that I would argue absolutely cannot be ahead of Jadan Baugh: Kewan Lacy and Mark Fletcher. It is rare in modern college football, Blake, to have a running back that steps up in big games with massive game-altering moments to be the driving force for their team's success. Now, Kewan Lacy wasn't the sole reason for Ole Miss's offensive success, but man, when he was dealing with the hamstring issue in the second half against Miami, they couldn't run the ball. That really took the air out of what could have been a win for them. And you and I both agreed in the post-show breakdown that we had. We talked about how, man, what could have gone differently if Kewan Lacy hadn't pulled his hamstring in that matchup with Miami. Mm-hmm. I think that Mark Fletcher, I almost debated with myself, put him at number 1. I think 3 is fair based on what his stats were this year. But here's where 2 big things for support of Mark Fletcher. 1, the entire playoff run, he was their most consistent offensive piece that just found yards, grinded through people, ran them over. He was a chunk every single time he got the ball. And when Marty Brown couldn't get going and Pringle couldn't get going, they would go back to Fletcher and he would get things rolling again. The biggest part with this, though, he was in a committee, Blake. He wasn't getting that many touches, and he still finished with 1,200 yards, a little under 1,200 yards, and 12 touchdowns. I wonder if he got the same volume as Kewan Lacy, how many yards he would have had. And I wonder if next year, if they decide to say, you know what, we're gonna really commit to giving you 300 touches. We're just gonna go all in. I think that this is a guy, with how consistent he was, could be a 2,000-yard rusher. I have that much faith in Mark Fletcher.
Problem with that is yeah, as an inside the tackles runner, there probably isn't anybody better than Mark Fletcher from a physical standpoint. However, that's not everything a running back does. And you're talking about double of the production for a Baugh, and I'll get to Lacy in a minute, for Baugh receiving the football in an offense that just completely sucked. He had 33 catches to Mark Fletcher's 17. So can you say, well, Fletcher didn't get as many touches and had just as many yards? I can make the argument, though, that he had the better offensive line. He had a better overall game around him and players around him consistently to be able to do that. So
wait, hold on. Wait. Okay, here's my only thing. I don't mean to cut you off already. I know that you I would argue that Florida's offensive line is better than you're giving it credit for, because they've got 2 NFL guys on their offensive line.
Again, one was in a national championship game with a staff in a championship game, and Billy Napier couldn't get out of his own way. I mean, like, this kid, I feel like people just say, oh, he's on Florida. He gets knocked for being on Florida. For some of these games, Miami included, he was the only reason that was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. The only rhyme or reason. The only reason. He didn't have a passing game to help him out. He didn't have a defense that was healthy enough to help him out. This kid can do it all, man. He can do it all. I am a Jadan Baugh homer. I'm a Jadan Baugh stan account. He is Maurice Jones-Drew 6 inches taller.
That's a weird comp. That's a weird comp.
It is. But their bodies, they're built the same. One's just the souped up version that's been up on the Ninja Turtle ooze pause, and then the other is Maurice Jones-Drew. I mean, he blocks well. He catches the ball well. Joe, what if you don't take 2 of the 90-plus yard touchdowns that he received on, and those don't get called back? What if you don't have the procedural penalties against South Florida when he scored touchdowns? Like, those are things that we're not accounting for. Like, you gotta, to me, you have to account for that. Him outrunning Mansour DeLeone down a sideline told me every single little thing that I needed to know about him as an athlete. He's a running back at 230 pounds. Outrunning.
No, he's a physical freak, and I don't disagree with that. And I see a world if there's one guy who completely bypasses rankings here and ends up at the top. I think that it ends up being Baugh. Ironically,
Joe, listen to me. Remember last offseason when I said Caleb Banks, and he might be the first defensive tackle off the board? You mark my godforsaken words. When this kid goes to the combine, because I have no idea what John Summerall is going to do at Florida, so I'm going to let that be. When he goes to the combine and everything goes on, everybody's going to be like, damn. Because he's going to run sub 4.4 at 230 pounds, and he's going to be able to catch the football. From a physical freak standpoint, nobody is built like this dude and can do it all. I'm telling you, man, he's the best back in college football. I will argue I Christ Almighty behind this one.
I would argue if you expect that,
I love you, Jesus. I'm just trying to make a point.
I would argue if you're comparing him to, if you think that he's going to run that fast, that he would end up being, he would probably compare better to Saquon Barkley. Look, again,
He does have the spin move on Miami when he caught the ball in the flat and he shakes 5 defenders. Yes, he's got that level of burst. I feel like I need to say pause after all of these, but
yeah,
he does, man. He does. I'm serious. I think he is that good. Well, first off, I didn't get to Kewan Lacy, to your point. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The problem is,
I just don't know how you can't, out of anybody, I don't know how you can't have Kewan Lacy number 1. Like, having Kewan at number 1 feels like, at the very least, if you went Kewan and then Jadan Baugh at 2, I think this would be maybe a little bit of a different conversation. But for me to bypass everybody for the production and the athleticism that Kewan Lacy had, Lacy out of anybody is the perfect pairing of stats and also talent. There's a chance that this could be a top 50 running back as well next year.
Yeah, and look, there's no real argument that I have on Lacy. I'm doing my best Joe DeLeone impersonation, and I'm perceiving something that I think is going to happen.
I know. I was going to say it's ironic that how the table.
But I also did that for Caleb Banks. There's something about this ball kid. If put in the right system, he is going to dominate. And I got a hot take. Joe, they got 2 young freshman receivers that return in Dallas Wilson and Vernon Brown. So we're not talking about Florida. Oh, my God, John Summerall, Blake, what are you about to do? Joe, okay. With a better, well-coached team. You mean to tell me after what you saw from Dallas Wilson and Vernon Brown, and now you return ball with a better play caller, which is what you're going to get, going and getting your boy from Georgia Tech to come in? Joe, I think this Florida team has the ability to do some dangerous shit. Now, when I say that, what does that mean? Are they 8-4? Who in the hell knows? They got dudes all. One thing Billy Napier did do was recruit his ass off. He just had no idea how to utilize them. None. This kid is going to be one of the best backs. I think he's the best back, and John Summerall runs the football.
To not fully, you're right. I think that Faulkner is going to get a ton out of him.
Right.
Turn this into a total
Jadan Baugh,
love show. You are.
My bad.
You and I have Ahmad Hardy both at the same spot. I'm actually kind of shocked that you and I came into an agreement on there. Just to talk about Hardy, I don't think anyone should debate this, considering his production and having 1,600 rushing yards last year and 16 touchdowns. But I don't think there's a harder runner in college football than Ahmad Hardy. I don't think that there's anyone that runs harder and runs through contact better than Hardy.
I don't know. Mark Fletcher, dude. I don't know about that.
Well, to your point, if we're talking about who's had better blocking last year, the Missouri offensive line was really up and down last season.
This is the only reason that kept Ahmad Hardy out for number one for me, and it has nothing to do with him. It's just that I saw Kewan Lacy carry a team. I saw Jadan Baugh carry a team. When his quarterback went down, I mean, there was nothing. And it's a hard, yeah, because I mean they lost 3 straight games there at the end. He did have some production, but when it came down to the fourth quarter and they needed to win some of those games, I think it was A&M.
No. So Texas A&M was the first game.
Yep.
Remember when Zoller stepped in? So this was how I recalled it. This is also part of the reason why I really liked him, is that he stepped up. He had 100 yards, an average 8.4 yards per carry. He had 300 against Mississippi State.
And the long was
72.
Right.
He had 3 touchdowns in the game. But to randomly to that point, when Bueller
came in on another double-digit amount of carries. You can't take it away from him.
No, wait. His long against Texas A&M was 45. His long against Mississippi State was 72.
Did they win those games?
They lost against Texas A&M. We're not counting wins. They're not a running back stat.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that Kewan Lacy and Jadan Baugh in most of the games when they had absolutely freaking nothing, like Kewan Lacy beat Kentucky for Ole Miss.
Well, you have Kewan Lacy behind Ahmad Hardy, first of all. So
I know. But I mean that he is freaking good. I'm arguing with myself.
I know. That's kind of my
I wouldn't mind if you put Lacy at 2 and him at 3. I think you could flip-flop them. I think college football is that deep at running back. The only one, here's the thing. I think you can make an argument for 4 of these guys at number 1, Ahmad Hardy included. Talk about physicality and burst. Ahmad Hardy has it too. The only one on our list that you can't put there to me is LJ Martin.
Yeah, I think that LJ Martin's really good. I'm trying to think of the way that I want to put this.
I almost put Caleb Hawkins ahead of him, just to be blunt.
No. Dude, LJ Martin deserves respect for how key he was when they couldn't get him going against Texas Tech and their offensive line was getting completely demolished. BYU couldn't do anything.
North Texas threw the ball 9,682 times, and he had 1,600 yards.
Wait, who are you saying?
Hawkins. They threw the ball 72,000 times.
They were also the American Conference, so I'd like to see what Hawkins does going up against.
Ahmad Hardy was at ULM and walked off in the SEC and blistered that ass.
I already have production from LJ Martin, though, in the Big 12 for what he did this last season. My main point is that he was integral for them, their offense performing well. They needed LJ Martin to get going in order for BYU to play at the level that they did. Bear Bachmeier was solid, but LJ Martin's a house to tackle. I really like LJ Martin. I think that he is incredibly underrated in this discussion, and I think that he had to be put on here. It's probably likely, to your point, that Jadan Baugh ends up passing him at some point.
Well, by the way, and I need to mention this, there is no better running backs coach in the country right now from an evaluation standpoint better than Curtis Looper at Missouri. Does not exist. Brother, he had Kewan Lacy, who then ultimately left. So I give him credit for signing Kewan Lacy. He gets Ahmad Hardy. He does what he does with
Javon Roberts.
No.
The one guy that you love that didn't end up doing anything in the NFL.
Started with an S. Name slips my mind. Schrader, Cody Schrader. He had Cody Schrader that was a 16+100, I think 1,800 yard back. So, I mean, maybe 1,600. I mean, Curtis Looper might be the best talent evaluator in the country.
I mean, that might not be a ridiculous thing to say, considering the fact that
Schrader
got production out of random guys.
And Hardy.
1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns was Schrader's total in 2023. And that was a Division II guy. Man, anyone that they recruit, he's No one's tried to pull him away. No one's
Curtis Looper's been if memory serves me, you can look this up. I think he's been at Missouri since Eli's been there since COVID. If I'm not mistaken. And I remember you want to hear something crazier? Remember when TCU went to the national championship game in 2021? Most of the kids that were at receiver that were brought in for the new staff when they got there in 2020, whatever it was, when they faced off against Georgia, it was the guys that he recruited at TCU that stayed, and that was their best position group.
I don't know he was at TCU before that.
I looked him up this morning. That's the only reason why I know. And then I went like a stupid geek deep dive on it. You know, like how most of these people are fine doing the Epstein files. I was going in on Curtis Looper.
I don't think those things are the same. No, it's the offseason. Holy hell.
Oh, God. But for real, though. But to your point on Ahmad Hardy, he is an elite back. I think you could put him at number one. I mean, Joe, there's a fight for number one. How mad would you have been if I would have put Todd at first and put 4 guys?
Oh, I would have been really pissed at you if you did that. You had to have some sort of delineation and take some sort of a stand. I will tell you this: the receiver group also is going to be quite interesting.
It is.
I already had a list I put together for a different video that I did, and it was hard. It was really, really hard narrowing down. Even though this year's draft classes features a lot of really good receivers, we're going to be in kind of the same problem. We know Jeremiah Smith, we know Cam Coleman, we know Malachi Toney, and then we can kind of get creative with whatever we do with the rest.
I mean, if you don't throw an A&M receiver on there, then you're just playing.
Right. Craver, I think, has to be. I had Craver on my list when I put it together. And
I would go extremely spicy. Spicy. Bro, you can't do it because you would have to fight for the narrative. Remember, I was speaking about Florida earlier. Does anyone remember when Dallas Wilson stepped on the field? Does anybody? It'd be a
little too early to do that.
It would be, but I mean, do you remember? Because if you're a college football fan, you're like, holy Jeremiah Smith.
I think we gotta. He's one guy that we kind of gotta wait to see, and there's just too many other. There's too many other receivers that would deserve to be there on there before he's actually proven himself.
I agree. I do agree. Like, I'm trying to think in the Big Ten. I mean, you probably not for Evan Stewart, probably not for DK Moore. It's going to be really interesting.
Yep.
Remember when we did this and Jeremiah Smith had never touched the field, and we both put him in our top 5.
No. That's not what we have. And you can't take credit for that. We did a segment on predicting breakout players. It was one of our biggest clips on TikTok. I said Jeremiah Smith, and you got mad at me. And in the clip, people were yelling at you in the comments because you got mad at me because I said Jeremiah Smith was going to have a breakout first year.
Nah, it never happened. I'm deleting that on.
I'll go find.
No, you can't. You can't because I'm deleting it. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have access to our TikTok account, so how am I going to do that? Anyway, all right. Can I tell you someone else I also almost put over LJ Martin, but I knew if I put him there, people would call me an SEC homer.
Who's that?
Nate Frazier.
I think that either the Georgia running backs could have been in the discussion. I think it just gets a little bit hard to push a guy who's splitting carries because, like, Fletcher eventually down the stretch of the season started to pull away as the clear guy who was getting the most touches. Ahmad Hardy put up his numbers while splitting carries.
Another one that's on my list, King Miller.
Well, King Miller is interesting. Wayman Jordan probably ends up being more productive for USC next year. And
can I tell you another?
Okay.
I'm just rolling down a list of running
Quentin
backs.
Joyner from Texas Tech, I think, is the one guy that I'm really most intrigued to see.
What about
the season?
I mean, what about Isaac Brown? What about Isaac Brown? What about Justice Haynes?
Haynes is also tricky because he got hurt, and I think that he was a guy that could have fit in there.
I mean, I'm going to be completely real with you. this might be one of the deepest running back rooms going into a 2020.
Yeah.
I guess whether it be 2027 draft. Shit.
It was a bad year for. It's going to be a really insane draft class regardless. That's going to be the biggest narrative that comes out of all of it.
Joe, you might have third-round picks and these be complete freaking steals, dude. I mean,
2027 is looking good, man. 2027 is looking good. If you've got a draft capital for 2027, you're living
Imagine
rich.
drafting Fernando Mendoza first overall with next year.
Stop it.
All right, let's move on here. Oh, good Lord. I don't want to get to this topic, but here we go. Joey Aguilar is granted a TRO, Joe, a temporary restraining order. Got it in the state of Tennessee. He has another year of eligibility. And at the current moment, it's looking like Joey Aguilar is going to be on the Volunteers team. And, well, I mean, you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't want him to be the starter. And nevertheless, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this the other day before the TRO came into place. It almost felt like it was expected considering the precedent that was set with Diego Pavia. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me that he lumped himself into Pavia's current lawsuit because Pavia getting even more eligibility seemed extremely unlikely. Aguilar going on his own push for his circumstance of having played JUCO ball and not playing 4 full years of college football at the Division I level. It made sense that he was going to get this. This is a huge sigh of relief for Tennessee because, as we talked about, do you just jump right into FaZe and Brandon? Do you just hope that you were going to be fine? If Aguilar comes back, you've got at least something to build off of. Having veteran quarterbacks, as we've seen, is super important for team success because across the country, the guys that had played a ton of football were really important for a lot of teams, surprising and doing better than anyone anticipated. I will say this, though. It's really a complicated conversation when we talk about this eligibility stuff with everything that's happening with the Alabama basketball program and them trying to get eligibility from a kid who went pro.
Isn't that a different situation, though?
It is, but I'm just bringing up that the fact that we have all of these different cases at the same time and there's not consistent, established what you can and can't do. Everybody is trying to sue their way into getting eligibility. Charlie Baker put out a statement today.
Yes.
And Ross Dellinger shared. And one of the things that he put out in the statement that caught my attention that I think is really true, he kind of pointed out that it's really ridiculous that basically what's determining if these things can succeed or not is the state in which it's being pursued and the judge that's presiding over it, which we literally discussed the other day about the whole Trinidad Chambliss situation of how ridiculous it is to have a judge who was a Ole Miss alum, but you can't find a judge that wasn't an Ole Miss alum in the state of Mississippi.
Well, and if they were Mississippi State alums who wouldn't grant.
Right.
Right.
Just the one quote I want to throw in here before I throw it back to you. This was the quote. The phone calls I get from coaches and ADs are pretty consistent. They're saying, I don't like it when what judge ends up in front of a state they're in determines whether someone gets to play another year. That's not fair. It's creating a messy situation for removing eligibility and opportunities away from high school kids is something that we don't talk about.
First and foremost, there's no head coach or AD in the country that's calling Charlie Baker. You can't convince me of that.
Come on.
as much as these ADs have trashed the NCAA for not doing anything, as much as everybody's been complaining, Joe, did you know I said this last night. Did you know 365 days ago, Charlie Baker's biggest fight was about women's swimming and allowing whatever gender you want in there? Since we're talking about this, and you're now telling me that coaches around the country are calling you complaining about a 6-year of eligibility? No, they're not. First off, spare me with that. The only person that calls you is your loved ones. Don't come at me with that BS because I don't believe you. By the way, the year that Joey Aguilar graduated high school, do you know who the Heisman Trophy winner was that year?
Who was it?
The guy behind me, his name was Joe Burrow. Do you want to know who was in the playoff that year?
Who was it?
It was LSU, it was Oklahoma, it was Ohio State, and Clemson. Do you want to know the quarterbacks for those teams? I'm so glad you asked and said yes. Jalen Hurts. Has he won a Super Bowl yet? Trevor Lawrence. I wonder if he led Jacksonville to the playoffs. That's really interesting. Oh, and by the way, you had 2 quarterbacks that went to the Super Bowl because you had Joe Burrow that was in there too. So Justin Fields is still in New York with the New York Jets. At least I think so.
He's trying. He's trying his best.
He's trying. Do you get where I'm going with this? When I say, hey, when the kid was graduating high school 7 years ago, Joe, he would have graduated. He's closer to his 10-year reunion than being far away from graduating high school. I agree with Charlie Baker on this. This is a joke. They keep telling me that this is, and I understand COVID. I understand a red shirt year. I get all of that. I understand all of that. He's 24 years old. Do you know what a TWIC card is? It's a card that you get for, and I'm not really sure what it is, but a TWIC card is basically what you get to go offshore and like go to work. When you go offshore and you do oil wells and you drill for oil, go into the workforce. I mean, I'm sorry. I am over this eligibility stuff. You brought up the Alabama stuff. How in the hell is that kid allowed to play?
Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't talked about this, but it's a serious problem. And I hope to God that no one from the NFL tries to do this, because basketball and football are 2 completely different situations.
Well, and I know that Roger Goodell, we were going to talk about this, but Roger Goodell said he would help college football. Joe, my proposal, which is going to be next about the calendar, I think you need to take the NFL model. Now, there was a lot of people today to talk to Lane Kiffin, and I didn't ask for a question until the end. This should have been my first question. I was going to ask him about the Alabama situation. What do you think about it? With all due respect, I got a question for you. Is there anybody that is graduating from LSU that you can go and do it for? Why not? If all you got to do is sue and get a temporary restraining order, do you know how many Baton Rouge judges would sign that right now?
Yeah.
Right now. So, Joe, this is a joke. Like, so everybody at Tennessee can say, oh, everybody else is doing it. It's not about Joey Aguilar. I'm not mad at Joey Aguilar for doing what needs to be done for him to make more money, which he's going to make more money in NIL, and good for him on doing that. And that's the one thing that I like about this, is that he's able to stay in Tennessee and make more money. The problem of it is that you've always had rules, and and to Charlie Baker's point, you just keep going to a judge and a judge keeps signing it. Well, here's the thing. Joe, can you name me one thing Charlie Baker or anybody on planet Earth has tried to do about this? Let me ask you a question. Name one thing Charlie Baker has done to fix any of this. So you can sit up on your high horse, you can sit up on the hill, you can do it and say whatever you want, but you've done nothing. All that these people keep doing during the offseason is coming out here and say, we need congressional this, we need congressional that. My brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ Almighty, this has been going on since 2021. And nothing's happened. What did you think that something was going to happen? Actions? No. Change comes when actions are performed. Joe, I've lost 152 pounds. Okay. Guess what I didn't do? Eat pizza and cheeseburgers the whole time or go on Ozempic. You have to put in the work and make the actions for these things to change. Meanwhile, when you sit in your ivory tower, it's a politician's move. By the way, he was a politician. What change do you want? Guess what you can do? Sue Joey Aguilar. Sue Trinidad Chambliss. Get a court of your own that sides on you. Why don't you go in your state and get a temporary restraining order on people that you know? Newsflash, play the game.
I agree with what you just said here. There is This is why I brought up Charlie Baker and why I'm glad that you also mentioned Roger Goodell, because this is a grander issue than Joey Aguilar. And to be perfectly clear here, this isn't a target at Joey Aguilar saying that we don't want him to play. It comes down to this growing issue that kids are suing for eligibility. I really do not want to get to a world where kids, and this was part of what Baker's statement was, kids are trying to get 7th, 8th years of eligibility, and we've got guys that are career college quarterbacks. So that to me is so ridiculous and stupid. If that ends up being the end product here, there does have to be some sort of a line drawn, because then it's not college football anymore. And I think that we're removing the most important aspect of, it's a sport that is meant for high schoolers to step in and then to play college football and to get the opportunity to grow and develop as young men. The money that they're making is obviously an amazing aspect of this, but we need to still maintain the core principle. I think – go, no, what were we going to say?
You don't find it funny that this comes after that they missed Sam Levitt? You don't
I brought this up. I brought this up the other day that, yeah, they're clearly desperate, that they're now going all in and backing him with his legal case.
Funny how that works. Huh?
Yeah.
Funny how that works. But, I mean, continue. I was just bringing it up.
I think that the biggest bit with all this is that Goodell was asked about this stuff yesterday, and he said his quote was essentially, he brought up one, that the eligibility thing is something that they're monitoring because they don't want anything in this regard of anybody trying to go back to school. They also would like to be able to have guys jumping to the NFL and not sticking around and playing for ridiculous long periods of time. It disrupts the pool of players. This year's draft class is an example of that because it's really a thin class. There's not very much day 3 talent. I think that, well, let me just finish what I'm saying here. Goodell basically stated he would, if someone reached out to him, he would be more than willing to help figure out and navigate all of this craziness that's happening. Charlie Baker, pick up the damn phone. Pick up the damn phone. We need to have more established rules in place for a million things, and it starts with eligibility. There needs to be a union. Blake, I'm going to keep saying this a million times over. If you don't have a union, you can't restrict how long they play for. You can't put in the guardrails that you claim that you want to put in. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get sued. You can't sue if there's a union.
You can, but the thing with Tom Brady happens, if you remember. So to defend your point, you can technically sue the union of the collective bargaining agreement that you have, but if that's what the union decides, that's what the union decides. Again, remember the Tom Brady Deflategate incident. So to your point, to kind of back you up on that, I mean, look what happened there. All right, I have a solution. If you're 24 years of old or older, you cannot be drafted. If you are 5 years removed from high school, you cannot be drafted.
Well, then can't you just sign as a free agent?
However, the money massively changes. You can't sign as a free agent. Remember the whole La'el Collins situation when it was reported falsely, by the way, that he was involved in a murder that happened. He doesn't get drafted, and then he gets exonerated, and then a week later, he signs with the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, was it probably a little bit more than a true rookie deal for a free agent? Yes. However, it wasn't first-round money. It wasn't second or third-round money. It wasn't fourth-round money. So,
I get what you're saying, but the group of guys that would fit into this bucket would probably be day 3 picks in UDFAs anyways.
Really? Are you sure?
Aguilar and Pavia, like those guys aren't getting drafted.
Well, sure. But here's what it would do. It would incentivize guys to go and leave. Because if you can't get the federal government to do it, the NFL's got to make 2 changes that absolutely doesn't affect them. Now, I thought you were going to say wouldn't it affect a guy like a Brandon Whedon who played Major League Baseball, goes to college.
Those guys I don't care about. I don't think they need to play. Those guys should never have been allowed to play college football.
Well, To each their own. But you get what I'm saying. Do something because you're the NFL. And if this doesn't work, guess what you can do? A lot like the review thing. Remember when you could challenge a review? Remember that the whole Sean Payton NOLA no call thing? Then you just take it off the books the following year.
I do ultimately think, as much as, and maybe this is something that generally college fans might hate this premise, but as much as Goodell is criticized, he's still a really good leader, and he has led the NFL to its greatest, it's its most successful it's ever been. There is look at the NBA inversely under bad leadership with Silver and how much it's regressed and gone backward. Instead, Goodell has capitalized, and he's taking advantage of any weakness that's been presented in front of him.
Look at the ESPN deal.
They steal all of the primetime slots on every major holiday away from every single other sport. So I bring this up to say, Blake, I think that one of the best things for the direction of college football is if Roger Goodell had a hand in shaping it. I think that there needs to be a direct line of communication, and he should help try to push for someone to be hired as college football's commissioner. I know that we say this all the time. You want to know how we actually make it come to fruition? Somebody like Goodell on the outside advocating for someone and making a push for it to happen. If there's more direct communication, I think it solves a lot of problems. And I think one of the biggest things, and this might funnel into the next topic in a second here, the calendar problems of when games occur in an avoidance of trying to not go head-to-head with NFL games. That, to me, is one of the shittiest things that could be fixed so easily if Goodell was on the phone with somebody and there was just a connectiveness.
Here's the problem.
And they were on the same page.
Here's a problem. Who does he get on the phone with?
But that's what I'm saying. He can help pick whoever the commissioner is. Like
I don't want him picking. I want him working alongside that person. But I got another. Well, yes. You can't, because then you'd have to unionize, and they're not unionizing. They're not, as much as we want it. They're not going to do it. They're not. You can keep saying, Joe. Do you really think
I'm gonna keep saying it? And I think that
you can stop keep being saying stupid. It, and I agree with you that they should. The problem is that they're not going to. At least there's no motion in that at all. Zero motion.
Think about 30 years ago. If we brought up the concept of NIL, we would have been sitting here saying the same thing. No, they will never.
Yeah, but unions were here. Unions were here. So you're basically, you can go a third. We didn't know about NIL in the portal. Yeah, but we knew about unions and how to collectively bargain.
But forget the concept of NIL in the portal. I'm just saying that we're sitting here saying that a union will never happen. But 30 years ago, we were saying that players will never get paid. And things have changed drastically.
Do you really think that NFL teams don't persuade free agents by NIL deals?
It's a violation of, whenever that's happened, it's been a serious violation. That tampering actually has consequences in those situations, and it has led to teams losing draft picks, high draft picks. So you need the union in order to be able to enforce all of these things. The biggest fix to everything is a union.
Do you remember when Gronk went back to the Patriots instead of retiring the first time? He did a deal with Gillette, the razor. Who owns the stadium, or who is the lead sponsor for the Patriots?
I don't know if we have.
Do you really think that Robert Kraft didn't call up the people over at Gillette and say, "Hey, big dog, hey, I need some money for Gronk"?
Wait, but that's a player on the team, though. That's a player who's already on the team.
Do you really think that they're not doing it for free agents? I'm sorry.
Guys get caught it is occurred multiple times in the history of the NFL that any type of manipulation or communication with a free agent that you're not supposed to they've been held accountable.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. You're not hearing. You're going by the book. If you think that owners aren't,
I'm not going by the book. There's literally evidence of there being repercussions for doing it.
Exactly. And do you think that has stopped people behind
I
closed
don't.
doors?
I don't have evidence of that, and it's something that's never talked about. No, because it's not something that's ever talked about.
Also had no evidence that Nick Saban paid players underneath the table.
That is something that people talk about all the time. People have been talking about that for 20 years.
Just because people aren't talking about it means that it's not happening.
No, that's wild speculation. You're the first person who brought that up. Yes, it is. You can't just
because the NFL is pure, right? The NFL is just so pure.
I'm not saying that the NFL is pure, but if for something like that to possibly be the case, there's at least rumors of it.
Joe, I'm just going to call any teammates that played in the NFL and ask them. And when they tell you 100% it goes on,
Blake, you're not. I think you're missing the point with what I'm trying to argue here.
I know what you're saying.
Just because there's a may or may not slight possibility that something like that could have possibly have happened doesn't take away from the fact that it makes it easier to enforce things like tampering and to simplify things when there's a union.
Yeah, because the Eagles definitely didn't tamper with Saquon Barkley. All right.
No, they didn't tamper with Saquon Barkley. There's no evidence of that. There's been no report.
There literally is evidence of that.
What evidence is there of that? When is there ever been evidence?
I don't know. When they did a Hard Knocks behind the scenes with the New York Giants, and he's on the phone with Saquon Barkley, and he asked Saquon, "Well, where are you at? I thought you were in New York." And he says, "I'm in Philadelphia."
But he was already a.
Do you really think that people in Philadelphia didn't get him a sign to say, "Hey, if they don't give you this, we are"? Do you really think
negotiation? I don't understand what your point is.
Yeah, negotiation. Yeah, sure. That's also tampering.
He was a free agent. There's no tampering if he was already in free agency.
And you think that started? And why is he looking for houses before like the season when he got nicked up? Why is he looking for houses in the middle of the season?
That wasn't a part of the Hard Knocks. I don't remember that being a part of the Hard Knocks.
But there was a big thing that, like, when he got hurt, he was in Philadelphia. Is he from Pennsylvania, by the way?
He's from South. No, he's from Pennsylvania.
Okay. That would make some sense. That'd also be my cover-up, too. All right, can we get to this calendar really quickly?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. So, Joe, I'm just going to run through some of these dates. So the college football playoff calendar has come out, okay? You have the quarterfinals that start on December the 30th. Then 2 days later, on January the 1st, you have 3 other games. Why can't you play on New Year's Eve? All right, the NFL. I forgot about that. They're going to wait 3 days instead of having all 4 games on the same day. How dumb. 2 weeks after that, you have the Capital One Bowl and the Sugar Bowl on January the 14th and 15th. And then 10 days later, you have the national title. Joe, after everything that happened this season, how did you make the calendar worse? How did the college football playoff be allowed to make this worse? Can I tell you what's about to happen? Let me tell you what's about to happen. Some of these players who, for whatever reason, are going to be on national title teams or potentially semifinal teams and are going to enter the portal. They're going to enter the portal. Or they're going to wait because they get the 5 days after, and then they're just going to wait until the next period to enroll at their other school. This changes nothing. But the calendar is so far pushed back. Joe, think about this. We would have wrapped the season up a week ago today. So if the national championship was on the 25th this year, that's last Wednesday. Think about that for a moment. So that's not the only thing that has a calendar issue. Joe, we're going to be damn near in February before college football is finished.
I think you brought up the most important part about this. You had an ability to potentially make adjustments. And I don't know how hard it would have been to make adjustments, but there was an ability to alter the timeline. And after all of the complaining, actually, I don't even want to use the word complaining, all of the acknowledgement by fans, administrators, coaches, players,
everybody,
agents, everyone, parents, that the current situation with the timing of signing day and when the transfer portal opens, moving those dates is a lot harder. Moving up when the season finishes is accomplishable. And your decision, instead of it, at least keeping it the same, was to make the season go longer? Who is handling this? Who came up with this? Seriously, I don't know.
Playoff committee.
Like, this is so dumb.
Oh, by the way, those administrators that keep complaining about it, literally, your committee chair is Hunter Yurachek.
Blake, play the first playoff game. The NFL doesn't wait. Play the first playoff game after the conference championships. Play the second round the week after. And let's be done in January. Why are we stretching
even if you gave them 2 weeks? Even if you
play
gave
every week, play once a week. Why is it 10 days?
I don't know. Well, I know why. First
Why?
off, congratulations, Joe. Congratulations.
What do you mean?
Do you want to know why? Oh,
Why?
just nothing. You and I make more money now.
Oh,
because that's all that this is about. That's all that this is about. Because they can go 14 days selling ads for promoting the college football playoff. They can get 14 more days to sell more ads and sell more of the game for what? For the national title. So congratulations, buddy. We just made more money. And it's going to happen. And if we're making more money, they're making more money. And that's all that is to do about this. You know what they're doing, though, right? They're preparing you for a 16-team playoff. They're preparing you for a 16-team playoff. You can't convince me of anything else. Why would you push it back? Now, their excuse was because, well, the Raiders play here, the Raiders play there, the Raiders play everywhere. Well, then you don't have it in that stadium. You just don't have it there. You're playing on a Monday night either way. So if you're playing on Monday night, the Raiders do not have a Monday night football game in the playoffs. They don't. So don't give me that excuse of the stadium. Joe, here's my proposal. Okay? My proposal is that you move National Signing Day to February after the season. Today, February the 4th. Unless you're an early enrollee, then you can sign early in December. You got to abolish spring football. You need to do OTAs and mini camps in June and July. And then you get into August, you get into fall camp. Does this sound familiar? Because that part is the NFL. So you have a 3-month runway to be able to get these kids ready to go. Then you have a situation where coaches have February, March, April, May to do whatever in the hell that they want to. Whatever they want to. And then that way you're eliminating. Oh, and by the way, I forgot the biggest part. The portal window is in March. So what? They're going to miss the spring. That is your cross to bear.
That has to. I agree with that. That has to.
But you have to have. Here's the thing, though. You would have 3 months, June, July, and August, to get those portal guys ready to go. So, like, why in the world? Please tell me why in the world can you just not move these things back? What is the holdup on that part? Now, the NCAA can do something about that. What is the holdup? You can tell teams there is no more spring football. You're allowed to have OTAs and mini camps in June and July. What stops them from doing that? Please tell me. They're the one that runs the rule.
You know what would make things easier? If we had a collective bargaining agreement and a union, and then there could be union reps who negotiate these things.
We're not there, but it would work. It would 100% work if you did that.
Just to throw in here with the timeline of things, by the way, and I agree with everything that you just said.
I can't believe
I also think that it's been kind of fun. Everybody reminiscing about how signing day used to be this big event, and now it's kind of not the same. I really wish we could get back the national championship ending and then signing day. Like if signing day was this week, dude, could you? I would much rather you and I spend a whole week on signing day. I think that would have been so fun for us to have dug into the players and gotten to know the players, and then we could have had guests on. It takes away from what used to be such a special moment in college football.
Can you imagine, by the way, with social media the way it is now, what today would have been like back in like 2010?
Yeah.
It would have been nuts. Joe, they got to change this. Here's the thing. They're not going to. Everybody's making way too much money. Way too much money. So, God, brother, you let Hunter Yurachek over the college football playoff selection committee, and then you're letting these – you keep telling me, people keep telling me these ADs have strong words for me, says Charlie Baker. Then why did they just do this? Because they're a part of the board.
Right.
So now all of them are just agreeing all of a sudden? Yeah, okay. All right. Any super chats? No super chats?
No super chats today. It's a rare day. Someone will send one right when we end the show, though. You just wait.
People don't like us anymore, Joe. They don't like us. All right. We'll see y'all on Sunday morning-ish before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, time to be determined. You and I have to sort that. So we will connect. We will connect on that.
You'll be live before the Super Bowl on Sunday. Whatever time that is, we'll be live before the Super Bowl. All right. See y'all then. You have a good night. Peace.